If you look into previous year's question papers for GS4 civil service exams, what you will see is almost every year you have 3 questions which deal with quotations, and all the 3 questions put together is 30 marks. And this is the most challenging aspect of the entire GS4 question paper. If you notice, there are 2 kinds of questions. One is explanatory questions which are easy to write. The other part is these quotation-based questions, where you just have a quotation and you have to decode it and explain the quote, which is a big challenge because it's not exactly a question per se and there are no questions attached. It's just a simple quotation and you have to explain it. And most students find it as a big challenge because you have to do this sitting in the exam hall. And a lot of these quotations you may not have heard in your life itself. So we will be explaining how to decode and how to answer these quotations. And that's what this video will be all about. Quotations. Let's simplify them. Now, what makes these quotation-based questions such a big challenge? Let's explore this. Well, if you ask me, there are 2 main reasons for it. One of the reasons why quotation-based questions can be such a big challenge is because the range of thinkers and philosophers that UPSC uses in quotation-based questions is diverse. And next is, it's completely unpredictable. You can never predict whom they'll ask next. Like in the year 2021, we had Erik Erikson. Nobody predicted that. He's a developmental psychologist. It is this diversity in terms of range of thinkers and the unpredictable nature of this whole quotation that makes this section a big challenge. So better be prepared for this unpredictability in terms of quotations and themes, and also be prepared for the diversity in terms of philosophers. When you look into questions in the question paper, especially in section A, besides quotations, you have other questions. When you look at those questions, what you see is words like discuss, explain, justify, evaluate, critically analysis. Now, when you see such questioning words, that gives you direction. Okay, in this question I have to discuss. In this question I have to explain. In this question I have to justify. But in quotation-based questions, there is no questioning words. It's open-ended. So basically, it's not a question per se, it's just a statement or a quotation and you just have to explain. So this is the second big challenge. It's completely open-ended. There is no direction. So it's like a free-for-all. You can structure it the way you want, you can introduce it the way you want, conclude it the way you want. It's all up to you. So this open-endedness makes quotation-based questions a big challenge. So the 2 reasons why quotation-based questions can be a big challenge to write an answer for. One is it's diverse, it's unpredictable in terms of theme and in terms of philosophers asked. Second key part is it's absolutely open-ended. Why? Because there is no question per se there to answer. Just a quotation, write whatever you feel like. Let me tell you something. If I ask you a question, it's easy to give me an answer. But I leave things open-ended, then it becomes a challenge. So that's why this will be a challenging section, this whole civil service exams ethics paper. Now let me help you with understanding the quotation-based questions. And to answer quotation-based questions, there are 2 steps. First, we need to understand the quotation first, then we go to writing answers. And understanding quotations itself is a 3-step process. Now, the moment you read a quotation, the first thing you need to do is you need to get the context right. What is the context of the quotation? 1. Second, you need to get the perspective right. How should I write this quotation? From whose perspective I have to write this quotation? Perspective. Third is get the theme right. If you get the 3 things right, the context, the perspective and the theme, you get your answer right. In fact, understanding all the 3 will help you frame an answer also. Next time when you're reading the previous year's question papers, just notice, as you read the quotation, above that, you will see a general question there. And the question will read something like this. In the year 2013, the question was somewhat like this. Given below are three quotations of great moral thinkers, philosophers. For each of these quotations, bring out what it means in the present context. The key word here is present context. Let's move to 2018. And here, when you read the question, you will see a slight difference. Let's see the difference. What do each of the following quotations mean to you in the present context? Now, if you notice something in 2013, it was present context. Now they added one more word, you. What does it mean to you in the present context? So the question context has changed. Let's move forward. After 2018, from 2019 onwards, the question was simple, but look at the context. The question reads out something like this. What do each of the following quotations mean to you? So they have taken off the present part. What does these quotations mean to you? So look at the way how the questions have evolved. From present, it went on to present and you. And finally now it's become only you. So the context has kept on changing over the period of years. Now let's understand the context in depth using some previous year's questions. Let's do that. Okay, let's get the context of the quotation right. If you looked at the questions I just mentioned above, when you looked at the questions, first in 2013, it was about what do you understand by the following quotations in the present context. In 2013, there was this quotation of Mahatma Gandhi, and the quotation read somewhat like this. It read, there is enough on this earth for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed, Mahatma Gandhi. Now, this quotation had to be understood in the present day context. So you need to get this context right. So when you're framing an answer, you have to frame your answer from today's perspective. Let's move further. In 2022, in fact, the context changed. They had a very you perspective. What do you understand? So they left the word present and they came down to the word you. Let's take Dalai Lama's quotation from 2022. It read somewhat like this. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. Now this quotation had to be analyzed from your personal perspective. It's you. So look at the difference here. There's a big difference in context. First one you're looking at from the present day. Next one you're not looking at the present day. You're just looking at from your perspective, not from the world perspective. So first thing about understanding the quotation is you have to get the context right. If you get the context right, you will be able to frame an appropriate answer. So that's why read the question very carefully at the top. What does it say? Present or it's about you? So you need to get the context right. If you get the context right, you'll get the framing of the answer right. So that's the first step, understand the context. Interestingly, UPSC changed something in the year 2017. In the 2017, after the end of a quotation, they added a small questioning word called analyze. So there was no context, just one word, analyze. And it was Abdul Kalam Saab's quotation. And the quotation read somewhat like this. The quotation is, if a country is to be corruption free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are three key societal members who can make a difference. They are father, the mother and the teacher. And after that there was one small word, analyze. So watch out for the question also in quotation sometimes. These kind of words are also put in there. So next time I have a small request. Next time read the question carefully, read the following quotation carefully and don't miss these small words. Analyze. The first step was getting the context right. Second step of understanding quotations is get the perspective right. When you're framing an answer, you have to understand this. When you're framing an answer, what perspective should I take? Or I should say, from whose perspective I should write an answer from? Should I keep it general or should I keep it personal? This is where you have to read the accompanying question very carefully. Now, in the year 2018 and afterwards, they had this perspective called you. There was a word called you. And for example, in the year 2021, there was this quotation. Let's take up this quotation. The quotation read somewhat like this. Every work has got to pass through hundreds of difficulties before succeeding. Those that persevere will see the light sooner or later, Swami Vivekananda. Now this quotation has to be answered from personal perspective. Let's go to one more. Let's consider this. Let's consider 2013. There was a quotation from Abraham Lincoln, and the quotation read somewhat like this. It read, nearly all men can withstand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. This was a very general perspective in 2013. If you look at the question very carefully, it says, what do you understand by the following quotation? Present circumstances. So here you can take a general perspective. But when you looked at Swami Vivekananda's quote, it's from a you perspective. So get the perspective right. If you get the perspective right, you know from what perspective I have to frame an answer. Should it be from my personal perspective or should it be general, like Abraham Lincoln's quotation? So that's why read the question, accompanying question also carefully so that you get the perspective right. After context and perspective, now comes the most easiest of all. The moment you read a quote, you can make out immediately, okay, this is the theme. And once you get the theme right, you'll be able to write the proper answer. See, when you're writing an answer for quotation, look at two things. One, you have to frame it properly. That's what the perspective will help, the framing part. After that, getting the content right. To get the content right, you have to understand the theme. For example, there was a quotation on forgiveness. Get the theme right. There was a quotation on perseverance. Get the theme right. There was a quotation on peace. Get the theme right. You get the theme, you get the content right. So look at the formula. It's a very simple formula. Get the perspective right, you get your framing right. Get the theme right, you have your content. It's easy. Don't complicate things. Just get the context and the perspective so that you get your framing correctly. Then once the moment you get the theme, you get the content in place. To learn more about GS4, follow us. Happy studying.